Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2024 version of the Wrestling Underground Awards. I know we're a little bit late compared to everyone else, but comparatively, we're early from last year. We did ours in February. Not the case this year. Um, we are once again doing the awards. We've been doing these for a while. This is our 14th, 15th edition, depending on all sorts of things. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go. We did it, I think, in 2008 and 9, but those awards have been lost to time. Um, Obviously, we've been doing this for quite some time. If you're looking at the website right now, if you're looking at the screen, you'll see past winners of our Wrestler of the Year awards. 2010 was Kurt Angle, CM Punk, Austin Aries, Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles, EC3, AJ Styles, Eli Drake, Cody Rhodes, Sami Callihan, Jon Moxley, Roman Reigns, and Gunther. So, pretty decent turnout. Now, this year we're doing the same thing. Categories, as always, are Wrestler of the Year, Most Consistent Performer. We got Tag Team of the Year. This year we have Women's Tag Team of the Year. We have the Indie Developmental Wrestler of the Year. We have the Foreign Company Wrestler of the Year, Mic Worker of the Year, Best Gimmick, Most Improved, the Arrival of the Year, Comeback of the Year, Lower Card Standout, your Female Wrestler of the Year, your Bust of the Year, your Female Feud of the Year, your Male Feud of the Year, your News Story of the Year, your Match of the Year, and as always, your Most Popular of the Year. So, that's it. I'm your host, as always, Chad Porto. Joining me, as always, is the glorious one himself, Marcus Green. Marcus, how you doing?
Good man. Glad to be back. Catch up on the awards. And to our credit, when it comes to our tardiness, we do more than most try to be a little bit more broad in our perspective when it comes to these categories in terms of covering more than just two companies. So
I think we have a fairly good representation this year. We got award winners from Japan that aren't New Japan. We have award winners from TNA, from MLW, from WWE, from AEW. So I think fans should be pretty happy with the fact that I think we're not heavy, a pretty eclectic group. The voters this year were myself, Marcus, our good friend Alex Swisher. Alex, we love you. What's up? The
yeah.
GOAT himself, Andrew Campese, and a shit. What's the name of his promotion? Exodus Pro Wrestler, Talboy. He was our fifth member for the voting class this year, and I think because of because Andrew's kind of the WWE guy. Swisher's your more conventional indie wrestler kind of guy, although he slants I think a little bit more to AEW than anything. Talboy is a part of a feeder affiliate of the NWA, so he's got that going. Of course, you and I stand pretty hard for TNA, but also you got an eclectic taste for the Japanese scene, while I have an eclectic taste for the American sub indies or American major indies, indie majors, like your GCWs, your MLWs, pretty much anything that's NWA to TNA level.
Yeah.
So I think we had a real nice diverse cast of cats this year, and I think we got some pretty interesting awards. Are you ready to start, Marcus?
Let's do it.
All right, let's start with. Oh, let's go here. Got a little lost. All right, so our 2024 Wrestler of the Year goes to Bryan Danielson. He was our top vote getter, but Swerve came in real close. Cody Rhodes was second. Gunther, Nick Nemeth, Satoshi Kojima, Kaito Kiyomiya. I always mess that name up. And EC3. Every single guy on this list, and we tried to keep it to a criteria of two WWE guys, two AEW guys, a TNA guy, an MLW guy, an NWA guy, and like your wild card guy that couldn't be
Yeah.
from one of the major promotions. That was largely the format we did. There are going to be some awards where that wasn't the case, and you'll like notice why. Like we didn't have any female tag teams from from MLW because they don't have female tag teams from MLW. So we had to adapt as necessary. But we took the best of each promotion. We just said who wins. And I think it turned out well. I think this was our best award season ever. And I mean that in all sincerity. The uniqueness, the dynamics of the voter turnout, I think worked real well for us. And I'm happy with how it turned out. Bryan Danielson winning the Wrestler of the Year, not surprising at all. He had one of his best years ever, not just in the ring, but as far as accolades go. He proved he's still one of the best, if not the best in the world in the ring. And he also went out on top with the AEW World Championship, winning it at Wembley in a moment he calls the best of his career.
Yeah, all while probably most doctors would probably told him to, take that time off and get his neck issues and whatever else he was dealing with handled. But Brian is one of the toughest guys in the business and considered a GOAT for a reason. He showed he had a banner year. Of course, he kind of had to, considering this was probably going to be his last full time uh, all guts no glory type of deal. As he talked about tapering back, spend more time with his family and whatnot. Not like he had anything to prove by this point, but he really went out not too dissimilar from Sting, uh, but with a title. So yeah.
Yeah, and they kind of need him. So I hope, I genuinely hope that this isn't the end for Bryan Danielson. I know he's talked about before um, how he wants to retire full time, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he's done in wrestling. So hopefully that continues to be the case, that we get more Danielson, because with everything coming on and all the potential matchups, you got Speedball, you got Will Ospreay, you got so many guys on that roster that I think you have to see what he can still do with that, right? So I'm excited for what comes next for him, even if it's not on a 52-week basis. Next up, most consistent performer. This is the guy who showed out the most in the ring. That goes to Will Ospreay, and I think he had, quite honestly, the highest total points.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's two other guys that came close with 38. No one got a full 40. There wasn't a single vote getter that got perfect. But Will Ospreay came damn close. Bryan Danielson, Gabe Kidd, Josh Alexander, Carmelo Hayes, and Gunther Tide, Mystico, and EC3 round out the most consistent performers. Danielson had a shot, but this was always going to be the Ospreay Award because, look at his matches this year. Like, he hasn't had a bad one. He's so good. He's made people think that Konosuke Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher are stars.
And he started out the year free agent.
Yeah,
Well, still in free agency. Yeah.
and he had some great matches in TNA while doing that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of impressive, and I'm really excited to see where this goes. Truthfully, these guys are fantastic, especially Ospreay. AEW's got such a stacked roster. The only thing I would say that AEW needs to do, right? Develop characters. It's not enough just to have names. It's not enough just to have in-ring talent. You need the characters. You need your Stone Cold, your Macho Mans, your dynamic personalities. Develop that, you'll be fine. Tag Team of the Year. ABC had a real strong case for it. Same with Fraxium. The Sons of Texas, which was the conglomeration of the Von Erichs, Dustin Rhodes, and Sammy Guevara. Even Kozmax took a dent. Made a case. Sting and Darby Allin, who were a tag team for 6 weeks in the year, they won it, and that makes me happy because it's the last award Sting will probably ever win of ours. He's won a few, I think.
Yeah.
This is the only time or the last time Sting will win an award. I'm gonna double check some and see if Sting's ever won something. He won
Yeah,
Comeback of the Year. He
Oh,
won
when he
News
debuted in
Story.
AEW.
Yeah, he won Comeback and
Gotcha.
News Story of the Year when he went into the TNA Hall of Fame. So, despite
Gotcha.
my overwhelming Sting bias, I,
No.
I would sell out this country for that man. Give us the codes or we will blow up your entire country. I don't care. Give
By
us
the
the
way, those would
codes
be
or we'll kill Sting. All right, I'll give you anything you want.
that would be a hell of a political season just for the ads that he do.
Make Sting great again. Sting will make us great again. So, I know a lot of people liked Fraxium this year. For me, Fraxium didn't get enough votes because I feel like as good as they were as a tag team, they didn't have that career-defining feud that
Yeah.
so many others had. I think ABC got the sympathy vote, which
Mhm.
not unfair. Cozy Max were the only two-time MLW tag team champions to ever exist. Sting and Darby Allin had a great match with the Young Bucks. So like that and Sting's retirement, it's hard to beat. It's hard to beat. Women's Tag Team of the Year. We didn't get through the editing process yet completely, so like it's not going to be listed in order like everything else was. Cosmic Angels out of Stardom took home the crown,
Right.
with Spitfire from TNA coming in second, the Kabuki Warriors and the Militia coming in tied for fourth. Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair tied with Wing Gory from Stardom, with Mukamako from Ice Ribbon, and then the It Girls from NWA. Honestly, I think when you have such a down year in women's tag team wrestling like we had this year, like Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair were the toast of the WWE, but they had some pretty boring matches. Jade never looked good on her own. We had a lot of people doing the Adam Copeland of it all, coping about her style. So it's not surprising to see Cosmic Angels, Wingori, I hope I'm saying that correctly, and Mukamako all being as high as they were, because I think, even in TNA, I don't feel like the tag teams were all that great. I think Spitfire only eked out a second place showing because it was kind of a down year for women's tag team wrestling, at least in the major companies. So more investment in this group, please, especially with
Yeah.
TNA. Like, I know budgets are tight, but you should have at least 7 tag teams. And if you can't do that, then we should have some conversations. But Cosmic Angels, they're your top dogs for the year. Stable of the year is going to shock some people. It's not the Bloodline. It's not the Death Riders. It's not even the Patriarchy or the System. It's the Contra unit out of MLW.
Hey man,
Exactly, with the
Janae,
music.
Janae and Minoru Suzuki alone.
Janae Kai was MLW Featherweight Champion for most of the year, if not the entire year. I think she just lost it to Delmi Exo this past weekend.
Can't. She was a standout in when she was in Glee and part of that faction. But yeah, I mean MLW just they got some hitters. Even when you talked about them having to basically reshape their entire kind of roster because they lost several names, they still kind of maintained and regrouped, I think, quite well. They always keep consistent quality of talent. But there's just no way I could in good conscience vote for the bloodline in any iteration. Just because you saw one or more of these factions more than any other, that don't mean we're good.
The Bloodline is in what I like to call postmodern NWO Wolfpack era. Like, yeah, it's popular. It's not good. Sting joining the NWO Wolfpack, Lex Luger joining the NWO Wolfpack was cool at the time, but in hindsight, it was a bad idea. Contra had the tag team champions Minoru Suzuki and Akira Khan. Mads Kruger is holding a title shot which he'll eventually cash in on Matt Riddle. Janae Kai was women's champion for practically all of 2024, if I remember correctly. They were one of the more interesting factions in MLW, and they really made it Minoru Suzuki, who granted is like 56 now, a prominent member of their roster going forward, and like the only place in the United States you could see him live during American tours, at least consistently. So like, yeah. Plus, their feud with Satoshi Kojima, I thought was one of the best in wrestling this year. Granted, it's two old dudes throwing hands, but it's still two old dudes named Kojima and Suzuki throwing hands.
These ain't your normal old dudes.
No, they're not. They are psychotic. The Indie Developmental Wrestler of the Year goes to Obafemi with 38 points, too shy off of being perfect. So it's Will Ospreay for most consistent performer and Obafemi for the Indie Developmental Wrestler of the Year. I think that says something, right? It says something about how good Obafemi has been this year and how
Yeah.
kind of out of nowhere he came in. Now, the only concern I have with Oba is he's not really a defined gimmick. He's big dude who brawls and wrestles and does so pretty well and puts on bangers. You got to have more when you go up to the next level. It's why I don't have high hopes for Julia. It's why I don't have high hopes for Roxanne Perez. It's why I have no hopes for Ethan Page. Obafemi needs to find that gimmick that makes him unique. We haven't found it yet, but he hasn't needed it yet. So I'm curious to see what they do with him heading into the next stage of this. Red Velvet and Lee Moriarty tracked pretty well. We had two members of GCW pop up. Starboy Charlie put in some work, and Crixus from OVW popped in as well. I don't think anyone should disagree with us about Obafemi, though. I think he's clearly at the top of his class in this award category.
No, absolutely. They definitely found a stud in Over, and his meteoric rise to NXT has been nothing short of incredible. Consistently one of the best performers. Like he's been like the Gunther of NXT in a lot of ways. And much as I like Trick, Over was the clear, undeniable pick to have next. And I think he's gonna I still think Trick needs to spend some time in NXT. You really developing that in ring. You got the personality, the entrance, all that other stuff, all the swag and pizzazz, but he needs to develop because I haven't seen a mind blowing performance with him yet. And the closest thing I think he came to it is when he fought Ilya, but again, that's with Ilya. So.
Can we call him Dark Gunther, or is that too on the nose?
Not Gunther.
Gunther. Better than Blurby.
Yes, it is.
All right, Foreign Company Wrestler of the Year. This is obviously the talent who stood out the most in foreign-based promotions. Yuki Mashiro from Ice Ribbon, Micah from Stardom, Alberto El Patron from AAA, because we had to have someone from AAA, and they're a poorly ran company. Mystico, Gran Guerrero, Zachary Sabre Jr., Kaito Kiyomiya, and Davey Boy Smith Jr. of All Japan. Zachary Sabre Jr. just ekes out Davey Boy Smith Jr. Both. Is Davey Boy technically a British citizen? I think he maybe holds dual citizenship. He's Canadian, but his father famously was the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith. So, maybe he holds dual citizenship. For what I'm about to say, let's pretend he does hold dual citizenship. Two of the biggest Japanese promotions went with a British wrestler to hold their belt this year. Davey Boy Smith, who just recently lost the All Japan Triple Crown Championship, won it, I think, in October, maybe November, maybe not even that long. Maybe it was sooner than that. And Zachary Sabre Jr., of course, won the IWGP World Championship a couple months ago by beating Tetsuya Naito. Kiyomiya Kaito, he's had a pretty good year for Noah. Really helped bring the promotion back. I would say they're solidly number 2 right now in Japan. Gran Guerrero is making all sorts of waves in the wrestling world. Mike is the top star in Japanese women's wrestling, while Mystico is having a career renaissance at 42. And Alberto El Patron somehow managed to get 6 points instead of just 5 because somebody gave him 2. I won't name names, but I'm a little disappointed in you. That being said, not you specifically, Marcus. I mean you who voted for him. That being said, Patron has the lowest vote attribution for this voting period. So, fuck them. Next up, Mic Work of the Year winner is LA Knight, just edging out Adam Hangman Page from AEW. Cody Rhodes and Harley Cameron did a fine showing, while Joe Hendry coming in about middle of the pack. Steph Delander, Brett Ryan Gosselin, and Daisy Kill comes in at the end. I'm a little surprised LA Knight won. I did not think this was one of his better years as a promo guy. But I voted for Harley Cameron because every time she cuts a promo, I'm infatuated. The way she growls in her promos is certainly a great bit. But I love it's like I'm a fan of just weird sounding voices. Like my favorite bands, right? My favorite
Yeah,
bands all have like a weird voice, like Rain Maida of Our Lady Peace. And Harley Cameron has that same energy, so I'm like, yes. But also the way
yeah,
she's just silly as fuck.
yeah, silly, quirky. Then sometimes you catch him like, yeah, she's a looker too. But then she gets off into that weird, quirky. Like she, it just, yeah, it's like that. And you've seen Hitch, right, with Will Smith, and
Yes.
yeah, when he was faking to be cool with the best friend Maggie, he was like, everything just works. That's what Harley Cameron is.
The funny thing is, like, her promos with Mina were great. The tit for tit, may the
Yeah.
breast woman win.
Uh-huh.
Her recent one with Maria May, where she just kind of like flies in on the wheelie chair, and then
Yes.
she's like, and then you'll feel the wrath. What was that? Feel the wrath. What was that? Feel the wrath, and slides out of frame. As a wrestler, she's fine.
Hmm.
But these are the types of wrestlers that will generate the most interest because she's entertaining all the time. And when you have someone who's very good in the ring, like, allegedly Speedball's going to AEW, Speedball's every bit as good in the ring as Will Ospreay, in my opinion. Will Ospreay, though, has a personality and an aura about him that makes you think, God, this dude really is the greatest to do this. While Speedball's like, oh, you're adorable. Do you want some chocolate milk? You need to have a person, guy or girl, that entertains you all the time. Harley Cameron can do this. She's
Yeah.
not Sasha Banks or Mercedes Moné in the ring. She's not Jordan Grace in the ring. But she's also significantly better than some of these other wrestlers that they have under contract because she can at least make memorable moments.
Yeah, I made this joke on the True Penny show when I was like, they kind of have a problem with that. Like they got a lot of masked guys there,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I had kind of made the joke like that's one of the problems. I talked about you. We talked about this. Like they got that problem of like, and you mentioned it several times. Like what does such and such do that Ricochet don't? And then I made the joke because this was around the holidays. I was like, yeah, that guy's really good, but we already got three Ricochets, two Angelicos, and then three uh however whoever it is, and it's like I say, it's one of their good problems, but it also it kind of lends itself because Will is like at the top of that, and then you got Ricochet, and then every ring of that going down, you just like, okay, who's just a little lesser version of that. And if they keep running into that with guys like you said with Mike Baylor, who's phenomenal, but he don't really stand out on the mic, they're gonna have a laundry list of guys, and maybe that's why they lean and keep guys like Jarrett and Cope and Moxley and Jericho premier because at least they talk a lot, so maybe they'll fool you into thinking they're interesting. At this point, primarily Jericho's think it's the top of that list of making you think he's interesting when he's not. Where these other guys just they'll talk if they have to cut a promo,
Pretty
but
much.
they don't tap on the mic at all. So yeah,
And that's fair. That's something they need to worry about. Developing gimmicks and getting people who can cut promo. Like that's a huge thing for them. It's one of their biggest to-dos in 2025. Best gimmicks goes to TNA's Joe Hendry, but barely. Tony Storm came in second, and honestly, I voted for Tony Storm because like what we do is we do a tiered voting process,
Yeah.
so everyone gets at least one vote per category from each person. And I really thought Tony Storm was going to win it all. Not the case. But I will say, while I liked her timeless gimmick, I'm actually super into the rookie Tony Storm right now. I think that's a great gimmick. I don't know
Mm,
how the legs are on it, but it's pretty funny. That being said, Joe Hendry literally became a national, international meme this year because of his songs, because of his entrance. I don't know if he's more than a meme wrestler, but I'm willing to find out. Swerve came in third. He also had a very strong year. Good promos, good aura about him, good look.
yeah.
So, thoughts on the
Yeah.
winner, Joe Hendry?
No, I mean, look, I think I voted. I think I might have went with you with Storm because when I think of gimmick, I think of something like the timeless gimmicks, the Rosemary, something kind of like a little bit further than just elevated personality.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I think it's something you kind of got to dive into from a different way. I do think of somebody like Swerve is kind of teetering that line, but his is more like you said, draped with more elevated aesthetics in that realm. The teeth, like you said, the entrance, the coats and all that. Obviously, you got um his manager that packs on with that as well. But like the timeless gimmick and Joe, and like you said, Joe just popped off real big. I think obviously some exposure to NXT helped with that as well. But there are also few people as entertaining as him when he does those damn videos on an opponent.
Mm-hmm.
Like the way he ran uh top flopper around or like other guys like Nick Nimitz brother, Top Dollar, so many other people. Like he has no all strikes, no spares when it comes to that. So, if he could finally put it all together this year, he might have a banner year. So I can't be mad at it. But uh, it is interesting to hear that you interested in this rookie Tony Storm thing. And maybe because it's just such a switch, like it's not directly what she was doing before, maybe in WWE, but this whole rookie thing, kind of starting from minute one, coming off of what she did. So it is. I mean, it is something to do. Something else to do.
Yeah, I think the angle is that like she suffered like head trauma in her feud with Maria May, and now like she's regressed. So like I'm curious to see what happens with this. I really am. Although shout out to two of our lower vote getters, Akira from MLW as the kind of insane middleweight. He's a hardcore wrestler who has pretty good technical skills. And even though Tim Storm's like 58, 59, maybe even he's 60 at this point, him doing his Baron von Raschke impersonation as Baron von Storm was great TV, and it was probably the best thing the NWA had going as far as a character goes. Sadly, I don't know they're going to be doing this gimmick any longer because he was tagging with the now departed Jack Stain, and he was such a big integral part to the Baron Van Storm gimmick. So I don't know what they're going to be doing going forward with it. But God bless Tim Storm for being able to pull off something this unique this late into his run. Most improved, it was kind of already on the screen for a little bit. Winner is Braun Breaker, who ties Obafemi with the third best outing, because technically when you have a tie, you don't go second best, it's third best. Like if you have a winner and then you have a tie, next spot down, it's listed as tied for third. So technically tied for third with Obafemi behind Will Ospreay's 39 is Braun Breaker for most improved. There was a little pushback when I threw this name out to Talboy. His name's Seth. He's like, I don't know if I'd call him most improved. I'm like, generally speaking, like when you talk about most improved, do you think about Sol Roca, right? Am I saying her name right? Sol Roca?
Yeah.
Like you think of her, someone who's not a big name, who puts together a good year, or who elevates their stock to a higher level, like Harley Cameron or Daniel Garcia did this year, or even Alex Taylor out of the NWA, who I feel like would have gotten a lot more votes if he was on a bigger platform. Braun Breaker, though, I think established himself not only as a future world champ, but I think he proved that he's a better worker than we believed him to be. Because one of the concerns I had with him, even though he did pretty well in NXT, was I didn't think he could do 20-minute matches without the right dance partner. Now, you always need the right dance partner, but I think Breaker could lead in the right dance scenario to get 20 minutes out of somebody. I think he's phenomenal. I think he's just absolutely a pit bull of a
Yeah,
human being. I want to see more.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, thank God they finally settled on some music for him. Just felt like he was getting something different every week.
Just give him his
Uh,
uncle's theme. Like, just have him come out to the sirens and holler if you hear me, and change his name from Braun Breaker to Braun Steiner or Breaker Steiner or Steiner Briner. Braun Breaker's still a terrible name.
but yeah, he definitely upgraded. Like I said, they settled on some music for him. They got him. He just works better as a heel just because of this, just really everything. The name, the demeanor, the attitude. And he even got better on the mic to me. Like, talking about his feud with Jay, like, there's never been a member of your family to be the member of mine, and you not gonna be the one to do it. So that was little stuff like that. Then, like you said, he's still in the ring, the speed at which he hits the rope, the intensity, the ferocity, the fact that he got his own camera set up for when he do that around the ring, either a tackle, a clothesline, or a spear. Now he does this like jumping shoulder tackle, which always comes off incredible. So he really is set up for success from every perspective, not just the work he puts in, but the work they, doing with him. So yeah,
Who did he say that line to about no one from your family ever beat someone from my family?
he said that to Jay Uso.
And that's fair. So honestly, I got into wrestling pretty young, but one of my earliest wrestling memories, at least when it came to watching the WWF, because I was a WCW boy, was watching the WrestleMania VHS that came out in like '92, and one of the matches on there was from WrestleMania 9, so maybe it wasn't '92, it had to be like '95, and it was the Head Shrinkers versus, I think it was the Head Shrinkers, right? The Head Shrinkers, yeah, I think so, against the Steiners at WrestleMania 9 in Vegas. One of my favorite matches of all time, and honestly, Scott Steiner pre-back injury, best fucking wrestler in the world. So talented, Jesus Christ. Speaking of talent, let's talk about talents that changed promotions this year. Top vote getters Will Ospreay. I don't think anyone should be surprised about that. The man literally had every best match in AEW started with Will Ospreay this year. Maybe his dance partner was always different, but there was no match better than the Will Ospreay match in AEW. Save for maybe the Lights Out match with Swerve and Hangman. But if you wanted a good match this year, you went with Will Ospreay. And when you're that good, of course you're going to win. Shout outs, though, to Kazuchika Okada and Jacob Fatu, who came in second and third, respectively. I don't agree with Fatu coming in third. While I think he's as talented as anyone on this list, 3 times what Ethan Page is, I don't think he's done anything.
This is for debut.
Yeah, this is for Arrival. The biggest names to debut and essentially what they came with and did after they
I'm
arrived.
not. This is slightly disrespectful for um, him just because of what Solo. You said this is Solo or Jacob that you were talking about.
This is Jacob Fatu.
Oh, okay.
I don't
Gotcha. I thought
think
it was.
I don't think with his talent,
Yeah.
his debut within the WWE this year has been good. If this was a role that Solo Sikoa was playing, I think he'd be far and away exceeding expectations. Jacob Fatu, excuse me. I think he and Alexander Hammerstone, respectively, in WWE and TNA, respectively, both came into a new promotion this year, and both promotions dropped the ball with them. They are literally franchise cornerstones, and to see Fatu playing third fiddle to Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa and Tonga Loa. You
And,
can't see what I'm
and
doing with my hand, but it's not a good gesture.
no, it's fun. The funniest thing is, even in his position, he's still the standout,
Yeah, which is
and
sad.
that's alluding to what you're talking about. But and this is definitely a question for you because you was heavy on MLW in his prime. There is this the WWE to let him loose that way, the way he was let loose in MLW, because that's a completely different kind of guy.
No, they won't let him do that.
Yeah.
This dude was fighting a 50-year-old LA Park to the death in Chicago in MLW. Like, they were making each other bleed and stabbing each other with all sorts of things and whatnot and slamming each other at full speed. Now he's laying down for Solo Sikoa and he's become a one-note meme wrestler. I love you, Solo.
Meanwhile, in MLW, I'll fight you for real and dog walk your ass.
Yeah, pretty much. Now, MLW
Oh
put the
man.
belt on Matt Riddle recently, so like, listen, they're not doing the best work currently, but I still think Fatu and Hammerstone were better used in MLW. But I'm optimistic that Hammerstone will get a bigger role in
See,
2025 with some of the departures they got.
to your point, I think they dropped the ball consistently as well with something.
Yeah, Jake's something too.
Mm.
But what are you gonna do? Can't push everybody at once, but you can push some guys. You can push them regardless of their age too, and that takes us to comeback of the year. Usually, this is an award that goes to guys who came back from an injury. But looking
Mhm.
at the lineup this year, say for Matt Hardy, the only one who actually came back from an injury was Cara Noir, and no one really gave him a lot of love. He's a British indie star, arguably the biggest unsigned British indie wrestler right now. And if he can prove that his foot's completely healed, I don't think that's going to be the case for the rest of 2025. I think he'll be signed by someone, be it TNA, AEW, WWE, maybe even New Japan or All Japan or Noah. I think he's going to be on a much bigger stage by the end of this year, should his foot hold up. That being said, the winner is Dustin Rhodes, but just barely over Chelsea Green. Chelsea Green obviously won the U.S. title. I don't think Chelsea Green is really that. I don't think she's that entertaining. I don't think she's that good in the ring. But like, listen, some people do. Fair enough. But Dustin Rhodes in his mid 50s is holding the 6-man tag and the tag team belts simultaneously in Ring of Honor. And honestly, he should probably just be Ring of Honor World Champion at this point too, because he's single-handedly holding down that promotion.
He's single-handedly saving Guerrero's career as well.
Yeah, yeah, and he single-handedly got the Von Erich signed. At least that's my impression. I don't know if that's actually true, but hell, I'm gonna say it. Shout outs to the Hardy Boys, Frankie Kazarian. Hardy Boys won the TNA Tag Team titles after Jeff's up and down, topsy turvy year plus. Frankie Kazarian proved himself to be a top level heel. MXM Collection is one of the more entertaining gimmicks on AEW and Ring of Honor. Ethan Page makes the list just because he had such a bad 2023. It's hard not to. And Davey Boy Smith won the Triple Crown Championship after like 30 years in wrestling. Actually, I think it's just 25 years in wrestling, and he's not even 40 yet. So, like, there you go. Lower card standout winner goes to Speedball Mike Bailey, though Braun Brickerbracker and Obafemi came in a real close second and third. We've talked before about Speedball, arguably the best wrestler in the world that you wouldn't want to put the world title on. And I think that continues to be the case. Though if he goes to AEW, he might be a nice name to put the Ring of Honor world title on, especially if they get TV. Because I think if you're trying to build Ring of Honor into a specific type of brand, I think he's the perfect guy for it. I think he's the perfect brand
I
ambassador for Ring of Honor.
I I could see. Oh, you said Ring of Honor?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, that'll work. That'll work. If they don't put him in Ring of Honor, I'll see International because like we talked about on the last show, that world title scene is just too crowded. And I actually liked your pitch of having it be Christian and then they're going back to him and Edge
Mm-hmm.
because that's always money either way, whether they run them with each other, towards each other, against each other, whatever. But yeah, that scene's just too crowded. He's Mike Bailey is like the best bridesmaid you could ever have. Um, but they, TNA was never gonna be, the Bride. Unfortunately, and I don't know if they're necessarily, like I said, it's too crowded and AEW. Kind of like you get put in that. I think him and Ricochet have a banger. Him, Kanosuke, all those guys. But they just on a different level. But like you said, if they put him down the Ring of Honor, we talk about different stuff. We talking about having him run against guys like maybe Leo Rush, Lee Moriarty, your boy Shane Taylor, who don't get enough credit or push in my opinion. But yeah, that'll be a good spot for him.
Speaking of people who impressed this year, especially fellow TNA wrestlers, female wrestler of the year goes to Jordan Grace. I wasn't as locked in with her as I thought I would be because Tony Storm obviously
Hmm.
had a huge year. Maria May nearly made the list, but we only took two from just about every company. And while I thought Maria May did very well, I thought Mercedes Moné did very well. I thought the two top women from that company were Tony Storm and Athena, and that's who got the nominees. And Athena nearly won it as well. So impressive booking at the top for AEW's women. Jordan Grace, though, I thought had a really impressive year. She was a constant headliner, a constant headline maker, and she had arguably her least impressive run of opponents this year. And I think when you factor in the least impressive amount of talent that she faced, because she faced a lot of just goose shit green women from NXT, I thought she had the best matches of her career per capita compared to the people she's wrestled in the past. I don't think the matches this year, save for the Masha match at Bound for Glory, I don't think any one of those matches, save for the Bound for Glory match, were as good as other matches of her TNA run so far. I just think that the women she's faced were so inferior in terms of in comparison to past talents that she did her best work this year, and I think that's why she won it.
Yeah, it was her Jordan can wrestle with a broom year.
Yeah, and honestly, yeah.
That's what that was.
All right, so next up we got bust of the year. This is obviously the biggest bust of the year, the biggest failure. The Wyatt Six, man, just terrible.
God bless them, man. But what did we say? I know that I mentioned this. It's like everybody, going in the bathroom, getting their lotion, coming out with their towel and their lotion to beat off to it online. I'm like, it always happens this way. It's gung ho when it starts, may go for a little bit, and then it tapers off to all hell. And it didn't even take go that far this time.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people wanted it to succeed because Bray died, Bo Dallas, his real life brother's taking over the group. The group is filled with a lot of talent that people like Sam Shaw, Joe Gacy. The problem is the WWE, and they do this all the time, worry more about the debut pop than they do about the story that follows.
Hmm.
They didn't have a story. Even when Bray was doing it, they didn't have a story. And then they're surprised that no one cares about him after 6 weeks. It's like, why are you surprised?
Not
They didn't
why
show
it's
up for a reason. There was no driving force. They just arrived like, we are here. They sound like the Who's from Horton Hears a Who. We are here. We are here. It's like, cool, 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 cool. What are you doing though?
she got to change the name to why it's 6 weeks. Um,
Pretty much.
yeah, it's just not good. Like you said, they didn't really have no plan. It's like in each iteration that you just mentioned, it's switching the gimmick, elevating or lining up the theatrics a little bit differently, and then just having them randomly pick opponents and go after them for however many weeks, and then breaks, and then they'll come back and go after somebody else, and they'll pick a new perk. Like it's and now the damn they're forgotten about. Nobody's asking like, you don't see no hashtags, free to wide six or nothing. I'm pretty sure it'll be coming if something pops up. But uh we didn't have more televised stuff with Karrion Cross, and they lost to him. So it's you hate to see it. Those names and guys deserve to get some shine and time, and this is the most we've seen of Bo Dallas in years. But yeah, like you said, there's no long term anything. I know this asking a lot of you right now, but real quick, if you could do it in like a 2 minutes or less, 'cause I know we got to move on. How would you would have done it if this is something you got stuck with as a writer?
How would I promote and debut and use the Wyatt Six?
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, I would make them a stable that is checking off people who wronged Bray.
Mm,
So like I would start with them attacking LA Knight, finishing the work that his brother started, and I would make that a key plot point for them. Like my brother started work. Like I would have him remove the Uncle Howdy visage and be like, I am not Uncle Howdy. I am the left hand of death. And I'm going to do to you what my brother tried, and I will bring this company to its damn knees. And then I'd send him out against every single person Bray Wyatt feuded with who's still on the roster. And over the course of 9 weeks, I would have them take them out piece by piece, one by one, until they run afoul with someone who actually has some noteworthiness, like a Drew McIntyre. Maybe he tries to step up against Bo Dallas. And then maybe I'd bring in Joe Gacy and have, Sam Shaw involved. What I wouldn't do is focus so much, because, like, who's even in this group anymore?
let's see. It's
I know it's
Bo.
like, isn't.
It's Bo. It's Sam Shaw, Joe Gacy. Um. What's the name? The superhero chick that was with Eric Young.
Yeah.
Um. Somebody else. Bo, Joe,
Bojo.
Sam Shaw. Bo, Joe, Sam Shaw. Uh,
So it's
Nikki Cross.
Eric
Yeah.
Rowan, Dexter Loomis, Joe Gacy, and Nikki Cross, with Uncle Howdy leading the way. So I would drop Eric Rowan, and I would drop Nikki Cross, and I would have brought in Karrion Cross, and what is that? What is he going by? Is it Karrion Cross?
Yeah. Karen
I'd
Cross.
bring Karrion and Scarlett Bordeaux instead of Rowan and Nikki. I would bring Rowan back into the fold, but as someone who tries to talk Bo Dallas out of it and
Mm.
becomes opposition for Bo. And then I would have them feud with various top guys and have them win some belts. It's really not complicated. I don't know how for 7 months we haven't been able to do this, but yeah, here we are.
And then honestly, looking at this year, that'll perfectly line up because depending on whoever all he wants to deal with on the tour, who was the greatest offender when it came to Bray than the guy who started his greatest, who kicked off, the great downfall when Bray ran into Cena.
Right?
That'll be the perfect lineup to do. Um, with that being his last year and all, like who was his greatest, like the one that kick started it all. Of course, like you said, you got names like, uh, not Drake, L.A. Knight, um, Seth Rollins, so many other names, and then you can end it with Cena. And I just think that'll be a really cool thing. But like you said, it's more flash than fire. So
Unfortunately, that's a lot of WWE gimmicks these days. They all burn out pretty fast, and then they're competing for the speed title. So
God bless you. God bless you, Penta.
yeah, you'll be there soon enough. That's how it works. All right, female feud of the year. Obviously, so this is another 38 pointer, so it's tied with Braun Breaker and Obafemi. Tony Storm versus Maria May. Runaway favorite for feud of the year. Next closest vote getter was Bailey versus Damage Control. I think this was a down year for women's wrestling as a yearly whole. I think individually moments this year were exceedingly exceptional. I do not think that any company can say that they had their best year booking women's wrestling, though. For whatever reason. Due to talent, due to augmented focuses, due to injuries, due to whatever the reason is. I
Hmm.
think this was a bit of a rough year comparatively. It's not as bad as the year where we had to put Stephanie McMahon versus the women's division of the WWE as a feud of the year because there were so few of them. But it's still not great. Flip side, men's wrestling had a pretty great year. Runaway favorite though was obviously Swerve versus Hangman. Others like Kojima and Suzuki came in pretty close at 26 points. They finished second, so I thought that was pretty cool. Cardona versus EC3 was last, but CM Punk versus Seth Rollins was second to last. That makes me happy. It makes me a lot happy. Marcus, are you surprised at all that Strickland and Page won this?
No, that was the obvious one. That was the best one, and that was the one. Like, was this the one that had Roman and Cody in it?
Yeah, Cody and Roman were the other WWE representative.
Yeah, I'm like, come on, but like either lead up to WrestleMania did it feel like it was just a feud between Roman and Cody. Um, Either time. Shane and not Shane. Yeah, Shane and Paige just had the best stuff. I mean, this is one of those things like it led up to like the Storm Magnus thing and TNA had the Mickey on the Trains thing that just wasn't that good all around. But the fact that it had legitimately, much like that feud, the fact that it legitimately had people trying to write letters or make calls to get stuff shut down because of how that feud ended with the injection in the mouth and all that stuff, like this is where y'all view as too ultra violent, this match.
Yeah,
You know, seen people set on fire, their balls shocked, people thrown in the Great Lakes, people blown up, um, miscarriages, people gave birth to hands, um, and a man literally revealed his ass on live TV to have it legitimately kissed by his employees. And this is too much?
yeah, it does feel like a gross overreaction. So I'm not at all surprised about that.
Yeah. But yeah, kudos to them, man. They did some great stuff and committed to it. That's some of the best stuff Paige has been involved with in his entire career. So
I think it made both men into much bigger stars than I thought they could have been. So,
yeah,
I mean, that's what a feud is supposed to do. It's supposed to elevate everyone, and I thought
yeah.
that's exactly what that did. News story of the year, unsurprising. Vince McMahon takes home the top story as he was removed from the board and had an FBI investigation launched into him. Now, according to him, the investigation is over. I don't know if I believe that, but we'll find out, eventually whether that's true or not. The other big winner was, or at least close winner, was Anthem firing Scott D'Amore, and the terrible decision to air the CM Punk, um, what would we call it? The CM Punk choking out Jack Perry video, which was supposed to be like this huge smoking gun, but actually just validated everything CM Punk said.
It's it's funny because I saw somebody on Twitter say that's how Phoenix go get his release. He go find Jack
You don't even need to just go up to Tony Khan and
Tony.
throw your hand at him like CM Punk did. I feared for my life. Oh my God, you whiny child.
run up, run up to Tony. Hey man, let me show you something. That's how ball up your fist, reach way back.
Here's what you do, boy. Ball up your fist, reach way back, and then let him have it. Ball up your fist, reach way back, and ah, that hurt. I know they hated each other, but goddamn, Jim Carrey and Tommy Lee Jones just had so much chemistry in that movie.
Brilliant.
Speaking of good chemistry, you need it when you're having match of the year. My segues are on point this year.
Segue of the night.
Sting and Darby Allin versus the Young Bucks take home the top title, edging out by 1 vote. Strickland versus Hangman Page. We also had Rhodes versus Reigns with 19 points. Punk versus McIntyre with 18. Hammerstone versus Alexander with 22. Ospreay versus Danielson with 25. They came in third. Sabre versus Takagi from Power Struggle with 17. And Grace versus Masha with 18. No surprise there. Sting and Darby Allin versus the Young Bucks. it whenever you have the end of someone's career and it's as good of a match as Sting had, it's hard, genuinely hard to sit down and say any match, no matter the quality, the athleticism, the execution, or even the storylines will top it because this is finality. A feud will
Yeah.
end, but generally speaking, unless something tragic happens, the wrestlers don't. They continue on. You know,
Yeah.
Swerve went from feuding with Paige to feuding with Lashley. Paige went from feuding with Swerve to feuding with the booking committee. And now, when you look at, say, Sting and Allen versus the Young Bucks, this was it for Sting. There was no next chapter for Sting. And
Yeah, that was.
sometimes you get the Ric Flair ending the second time around when he's having heart
Yeah.
attacks in the middle of the ring and passing out because his pacemaker fails because he's 70.
Oh man.
So, considering the alternative, not only do I think Sting had one of his best matches of the last 10 years, but I think he went out on top in a far better scenario than I thought was possible. Plus, his son's coming down
From
is
from
is
top to
great.
bottom, the video promos, the where it was, how them planning it ahead of time. And what this is AEW's what fifth year? We're going into sixth. Well, what is it?
I think so.
Yeah, but and it's short life that AEW has had. I think undoubtedly Sting's run is one of the best things they've ever, if not the best thing they've done. Getting Sting, the way they debuted him, his run, the way they booked him, um, let him have a lot of leeway because I mean he, damn near was acting like his last name was Hardy at times. Uh, like you said, just that night in general, the video package, the him having him next to his sons, them doing the other versions of him, the match, just everything involved. Like you talk about having like a fairy tale story book ending, like Sting's stuff was it's perfect. It was perfect, and it was hard to vote against that. Like I think for me, this the Swerve match was good. Um, that was great, but it just I mean it was Sting's last match, one of the all time goats final run, and they booked it perfectly. You don't associate those words together. Perfect booking a lot of times with AEW. So, and with the Cody and Roman, to me that the match was overbooked to high hell. I think if we had a category of moments of the year, then Cody winning
Hmm.
and finally finishing his story worked. But that match was always gonna be high booked to all hell, and it was. But it had some great moments, and obviously it finished with the best. But in terms of straight up with that, like, the match, I didn't even think the match was gonna be as good as it was with the Bucks. But to their credit, and we don't always give them much these days, they did everything they could to make that man go out the way that he deserved, and obviously Darby was gonna get thrown, dive, and whatever type, almost short of actually dying, Darby was gonna do it as he always does, but even more so that night. So yeah, you're not gonna get better moments of wrestling that you saw all year than that.
Agreed. All right, with that said, we're down to our last award of the year. It is the most popular of the year, CM Punk. No long-winded way of saying it. It's the punker.
Of him, you hate him. You getting the man's getting the pop every time, every single time.
I mean, and some of you really fucking hate him. Like
Oh,
in almost a sycophantic way that makes me worried about your mental health. Now, if I remember correctly, Punk's won this award before for us.
I want to say, was it during his summer of punk thing?
So he won it in 2012, and then
Okay.
in 2021. And
Okay.
the only other person who has three wins is Brian Danielson, who won it in 2013, 2014, and again in 2021. Though I do want to point out that Tessa Blanchard won it in 2019. So, like,
Oh, what a difference however many years
right? What a difference 5 years make.
make.
Sincerely, what a difference.
Oh man.
Yikes. All right, so that's it. We're done. Any thoughts on this year's awards? Any thoughts for 2025, Marcus?
No, I love it, man. I love that we still doing this. And like I said, I came to the to you guys what in 2012, 2013.
Has
Um,
it been that long already?
yeah, man. Had a hell of a run, and we've been doing it that long. Also, on top of the year in marathon, which used to be our version of the G1. It was our version of the G1.
Some years we
Uh,
went for 13 hours, man.
yeah, man. Yeah, we set a record one time. That was it was a hell of a it was the good times, good times. Shout out to the Thackeray Binks. Um, yeah, we still doing like you said. This is we have a very proudly we have a very eclectic category. Shout outs to you for doing that and having a great voting system with the 8 point system of it all. And yeah, just gonna continue to get better and better. But this was definitely, like you said, one of our best, if not our best year.
And we'll be
For the
back next year. We may actually try to do it in December, just to be topical and timely.
yeah,
We'll see, though. We'll see. It's all about how much I can get done doing this. Because I started this in December, so like actually I've been doing it all year, and I'll be doing it again all year this year too. So I'm already going to start compiling 2026s or 2025s, I should say. So all this again starts for me. It starts tomorrow.
yeah,
I'll be going through Wrestle Kingdom stuff. I'll be going through the first couple weeks of WWE, TNA, MLW, NWA, and all that. And we'll be back next year, guaranteed, unless we're dead. Which, hey, who knows? All right, so that's it for us. RealNerdCorp.com, RealNerdCorp.com. We're on Twitter at NERDCORP. Marcus, you can be found on Twitter at ParadoxKid, ParadoxKid.
that's me.
You can also find him on his other podcast previously mentioned before, The True Penny Show, TruePennyShow. Find them on Twitter at that handle. They post links to their shows on their Twitter account. You can also find me on Twitter at Chad Nerdcorp, CHEDNERDCORP, and on the Instagram at Chad's Photo at CHEDSPHOTOHUT. Be sure to check us out there. We're done. Special shout out to everyone who contributed this year with the awards voting.
Yep.
Andrew, the ace himself, Swish, Towelboy, you, me. Special shout out to Zachy Duncan. So yeah, with all that being said, we're done. We'll see you guys next week. I don't know what the topic's going to be. I'll let you know, Marcus, when I come up with one. So as always, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for giving us a chance. Remember, as always, to watch more wrestling. And Marcus, take us home.
Good night.